Try this again. So second time lucky. The first one I couldn't remember how to do one thing. So I thought, yeah, let's do this again so I can show you properly. Right, the idea is you have a game like Rivers of London, like Call of Cthulhu. You have a game like Blade Runner, and it's an investigation game. Your players have to have lots of different bits and pieces of information, photos, maps, handouts, crime scene photos, evidence, notes together, and you need to manage that information somehow in your VTT. Now, Foundry usually uses something like this. Usually uses journals, and then you have things that you can share. So you might have a handouts folder like I've got on here with a few handouts. And then you can go right-click and you can say configure ownership or show players. And then say, instead of inherit, you can say, okay, all the players are now observers and they can now see this particular local map. The players still have to go into your journal map, find it again, and then open it from there. And if they don't, then they probably will get a bit annoyed with it, or they can't remember, they were not going to use the information. So the key when I was preparing these games was, how can I make this more accessible to players so that they actually feel like they constantly have the information at their fingertips. But I don't want to have a huge overload while I'm running the game to say, okay, now let me share this and let me put this on Discord or whatever. So what I came up with is basically a Crimeboard. I have a nice little background picture. This is a game I ran, Rivers of London in German. And you can see that I've got all the different handouts on here. I have a Posteingang. This is basically your inbox. The idea of this one is any new information that comes in from another investigating officer or something I can shove in there. But other than that, these are the handouts. There are maps that pop up like this. There are pictures from the adventure. This is Rivers of London, one called Font of All Evil. I might have text here. Yeah, this is a summary about this guy. The original English is at the bottom. This is my German translation. On the top, plain text. Yeah, plain text of the witness statement, or you might have a piece of like a crime evidence photo. It's popping up. Hang on. So you can actually see it like this. And this way, with a mouse over and with a hovering, they don't even have to double click on it. If they did double click on it, they would open the handouts folder. And I'm using something called Ownership Viewer, I think it's called, or Permission Viewer, which gives you these little icons. So I can very quickly see what the player access is for this one. Yeah? So that's the idea here. Right, now I'm going to show you this. I just recorded this for the second time now because first time I forgot one setting, which you need to know. So I thought I re-record it. So let's go to an empty one of these. Basically, I just got my inbox here again. So just to show you anything new I want to pop in. And then I tell them, oh, you had an update from this investigating, from this forensic analysis or whatever. I pop it into here. So this one here, for example, tells them where he lives and so on, and that they identified one of the suspects. But yeah, all the other stuff is now gone. This is just a background picture. And if I now go back to my journal entries here, I have one journal where I put all the handouts. So let's use a different case. I've got a few here. I've got a map, I've got a witness statement, I've got a sketch, I've got another witness statement, another map, and another picture. If I wanted to put these few on initially, and I need to say that initially I can see them all, but the players can only see when I give them permission. That's an important thing. So I grab this map, shove it on here, and you probably have all done that before, and just update note. So, right. Is that it? Well, it's hard to see, number one. Yeah, it's got a double title on it. Number two, find that a bit annoying. If I double click on it, it opens, yes, but if I now wanted to keep this somewhere, I can pop it out. Of course I can, or you can double click on the title just to minimize it. Always a good Foundry function. Not many people are actually using this. Good, but not good enough. So instead, with the module pincushion installed, what I can do is you need to make sure you're on the journal notes over here, but double right click, and I can now configure it a bit. So for example, I want local map. Yeah, okay. Not very good title, but let's just leave it as local map. Globally visible, it says. Yes, if you don't tick this one, the players will not see the map node unless they're also on this tool. So that's definitely something you would want. Now you can, it being a map, you can choose an icon here. Yeah, you could, for example, say, all right, I want a map. Have we got a map? No, no map. So what you can do, you don't have to, I'll show you in a minute, is go to gameicons.net and download them. Also, actually, module you can enable, and then you can go to, if you have it enabled, you can go to user data modules, gameicons.net. Let me just find it here. You can choose what you want. So white with background, for example. This takes a moment because there's so many icons, it needs to read it. Running it via the Forge locally, this doesn't take quite as long. But this is always the time for me to do something else. So you can have it this way around, or you can have it inverted. But if I now, for example, go to map, I get a couple of maps here. Not showing it properly. Maple Leaf Treasure Map. Yes, let's use this one. I can then also go in and say the text I want on the right, like I've done for my inbox here. So text anchor point at the right. So far, I haven't touched pincushion. So let me just update this. And so far, it would look like this. So I would only pop it up when I hover. And there's no preview. So this is where pincushion comes in. Double right click again, go to the pincushion option. Here you can say, right, I want the text to always be visible. I also want the tooltip to be off to the right. Yeah, you can do it automatically if you like it. But for example, I just say to the right, so that's east. That's how I like it. You can then also see, and this is the one, that's the clever thing. Show on the tooltip linked image instead of text. So, okay. And this is the most important thing. Pincushion automatically says by default, do not show journal preview. So if you want the journal preview, and we do want that for the mouse over, you need to take that one off. Update it. So, few more settings. What happens now? Let's have a look. Ah, look at that. So it just pops up now, and I can quickly look at it depending on my screen resolution. And it's much more accessible. It also is constantly labeled, and I can, as a GM, certainly I can push this about to where I want it and rearrange it. So that's a bit better, isn't it? Now let's do the same thing with a text entry. I go into my handouts again. So there's a text entry, one of these witness statements, for example. Do the same thing, bring it across. So what was it I had to do? Let's go through the steps. I wanted to get rid of the double title. Just say buckler statement. With an apostrophe, I think. So, globally visible, entry, right, notepad. I want a notepad. Again, I have to go into here, browse files. This is oddly laggy. I find that often. If you double click, you get two windows and then it gets a bit annoying. So you have to be a bit patient. I think it's because the last folder I was in was the games icons one, and there are so many files in there that it takes a while to open it up again. So this is the reflective pause, coffee sipping break. You can, of course, I'll show you another trick, bypass the whole thing if you just remember which icon is which. Shouldn't take that long, so I'm going to be brave and click it again and see what happens. So, come on, don't take so long. I'm going to place a couple of others. I'm going to place all the rest here, just plonk them on briefly. Suspect sketch, plonk them on so we can deal with them in a minute. And the statement number 2. So has that done anything? Let's see. Oh, hasn't even plonked the other statement on. Let's try this on this one. So, same thing. ID statement. Want to do it now? Custom? Yes, I will do it now. Look. Won't take us quite as long. And there's, for example, notepad icon you can use. So, notepad. Luckily, it knows where I was, so I don't have to navigate again. Notepad, notebook, here, this one. So, I also said I wanted it on the right. And I wanted it text always visible, preview, And that's fine. So there we go. Got the statement with a German translation beneath it. Yeah, so that's the idea now. I can put that over here and say statements are over there, and we've got the local map over here. And we've got a couple more others ones. Now this is a picture, for example, and that is a picture. Pictures are basically like maps. So what you can do is treat them the same way. So I'm just going to stick it here and say, right, same idea. Double right click, get into it, title. And I'll show you a shortcut in a second of how you don't have to do all the steps every single time. But I'm going to ignore this time the icon. I'm just going to leave it as a book. Text anchor point right. So far so good. Yeah. Now the pincushion options. I want to have text always visible, preview, and it's a picture, isn't it? No, yeah, that was this picture. So instead here, I'm going to show the image. So, that's not the right picture. That can sometimes be a caching issue, I found out. Huh. It seriously worked earlier. Right, so it can be a caching issue that is trying to do that. What I was trying to show you as a shortcut is this. If you have another statement now, so I've got Eileen Atkins statement, what you can do is you can do hover, Control-C to cover the pin, Control-V it where you want it, and then I've got two of them. Double right-click on it, and then up here you can say which page in the handouts document you want. Now I want buckler statement. Just going to change the name. And the nice thing is, it now has remembered all the settings I had for a statement for text entry. So all the things about pincushion, the preview and so on is all remembered. All I had to do was basically change the page it refers to, and I had to change the title for it. Yeah, but now I've got two different statements, and that was much quicker to do. Now, the picture. Why is the picture not loading? It's all using the first picture in the entry in the journal, and that is the annoying thing. So if I go and change this differently and say I want this on a different page. There is no picture, and now I go back. Will that help? The mummy page section. I don't have page sections on these. Maybe that's what it is. Right. As you can see on my other Crimeboard, I have different pictures, and they work the same way. Yeah, so not quite sure where that would be. Let's see, have I got anything different? Here I've got a custom in it, and I think I might have actually used the icon. I've used that. But anyway, I need to sort this one out. But in the big, in the great, and the good, in the overview, you should now have a good solution of how to create these Crimeboards for you. And I could show you briefly what that looked like on, what shall I call it, on Blade Runner. So let me just try one last thing here. If I wanted to use a different icon here now, and I want to use the picture from here. So that now gives me that shrunk image, but it still doesn't give me the right preview. That's a bit annoying. Yeah, don't know. It does load properly eventually. Let me just do Control-5. No. No. So I don't know why that is. Maybe because the first entry on this one is a picture. So it grabs the very first one. Whereas on the other Crimeboard that I made, yeah, on this one, if I double click on it, the first one is also a picture though. Right. Don't know exactly why that works, but it does work. You may have to fiddle about it a little bit. So I'll briefly, if you want to see it, I'll briefly just show you the Blade Runner version, because I think that's really cool as well. So back to the Forge for a moment. Go into my Blade Runner game. And then hopefully you are slightly wiser and you can use this sort of stuff yourself. So this is my Blade Runner game. We are 2 sessions into Fiery Angels. We probably need another 1, maybe 2 sessions to finish it. If you want to watch our English playthrough of Fiery Angels, we did that a few months ago, so that's available. So come on, load it. There we go. So this is the nice Blade Runner game. We had a bit of a spinner chase, and I got away. So, Crimeboard. On here, I made it look like this. And again, just to point that out, I can see all of these. So I had categories, people, locations, and evidence. I can see them all as a GM, but only when I go and just double click into here, for example, the handouts. If I share the handout with the players, then these ones with a little multicolored square next to them, they pop up on the screen. So all I have to do in the game to say, okay, here's the handout, configure ownership, observer, or you can actually go show players and you get a prompt whether you want to change the ownership. Yeah, you can say, okay, observer here. You can also show it only to some players rather than all of the players. It's very clever. And the little icons here come from something that's, what is it called? Either permission viewer or ownership viewer. Let me just have a look at my active modules. Ownership viewer, that's the one I use for that one. Right. So I find this very, very useful. The players so far, the feedback has always been very useful or very positive, because it allows them to navigate the information, to have everything on their fingertips. All is held in one place. And for me in the game, when I'm running it, it's really easy to share an extra piece of information. Yeah. So hopefully it's useful to some of you. Leave me a comment if I miss any tricks, or if you say, oh, why don't you use active tiles for this or that or the other, then let me know. Yeah, what am I missing? By all means, I'd be interested to hear. But this is a little insight of how I've done the Crimeboards. Right. Have a great Sunday, everybody. Do something nice with it.